We light this chalice with the torch of justice. We light this chalice with the radiance of joy. And now I would like to invite all of the kids to come sit with us. The young and young at heart, feel free to join us up front. Good morning, guys. So today we are celebrating the solstice.
I thought that was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Thanks, Safi. We're a day late, but not $1 short. All right. So today we're going to celebrate the solstice and the Christmas season, of course. And we're going to talk about a star, and then we're even going to try a meditation with the kids. We'll see if that works. So once upon a time, there was a star. It was bright and beautiful, and because of its light, we were given everything we needed. Food to eat and warmth to live, and day and night so we could go on adventures and have beautiful dreams. We followed the star on this little earth boat with great courage through space, revolving about it like a child dances around its parents. We revered it and sang to it and offered up stories and bread and fruit to it, loving it unconditionally as it did us. We followed our star wherever it led. Because of it, we were never alone. Can you guys guess which star we're talking about?
Christmas star.
No? Anybody else?
The sun?
The sun, yes. It's easy to forget that the sun is actually a star. But then, winter came and we grew afraid. The star seemed to shrink away from us, no matter what we did. How can we live without you? Please come back to us. And farther and farther and farther away it went, until one night, all of the people came together and said, "Let's sing and dance and make merry. Let us love one another so brightly and so fiercely, the star will come back to us." So they laughed and they danced and they sang and gave one another gifts and hugs and love. And the next morning, the star seemed a little bit nearer. And the day after that, it grew brighter. And the day after that, a little bit warmer. And slowly, gradually, the star came back. And we still celebrate that old ritual of love and song and dance through the winter solstice. Every December, we gather together in love to remind the star, our beautiful sun, to keep shining and to return to us. These cool days grow shorter up until the edge of the year at the solstice, when the longest night comes to wrap us in dark arms and hold us close to the spin of the stars. And now I'm going to ask all the kids to come sit down and maybe close your eyes for a moment. Remember, we've been talking about silence this whole month with church, yeah? So we're going to practice a little bit of that silence. You like to talk. Thank you, Zaffy, we know. But for just a minute, we're going to be silent. All right, so close your eyes and breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly. And you can feel the earth underneath you, and you can feel how it holds you up and it holds all of us up. Today, we're going to see the sun. We're going to imagine being in a beautiful snowy meadow that we don't get here in Hawaii. And the air is going to be crisp and cool. There's going to be white snow surrounding everyone. And the snow is sparkly and calm and bright. Now, can you reach your hands up toward the sun? Feeling the great pull of its warmth and its fire, it rises up over the edge of the world, this glorious star. You can feel the gravity of it in you, all around you, because the gravity of the sun holds our beautiful green earth in its place. Enjoy the warmth of this light. Feel it filling every bit of you from top to toe. Think about the star you're following in your own life, the thing that you love most to do in all the world. Speak your heart to the star and tell it your greatest dreams and wishes. Do any of you want to share any special Christmas wishes?
Did I get a clothes for Christmas?
Owen? What's your Christmas wish, Owen? What's your wish? For a train? That's quite a wish. Brock? Luyanda? for snow. I think a lot of us wish for just a little bit of snow here in Hawaii. Just a little bit.
Make a lot of snowballs.
Now we can thank the sun for always being steady, for always being there, and for being the perfect star for us all to follow. So let's say thank you for being born and for bringing life to our world. And now for the younger kids in Owen's class, 3 to 6-year-olds are going to think even more about being thankful as when they go up to their classrooms. And then our older kids are going to be talking about symbols of the season and of the holidays, so you can think about the sun when you go upstairs. And now I invite our arch for our children to be made, and we can sing our kids out upstairs to their classrooms.
Go now in peace, go now in peace, may the love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Has been one that is often debated as to what is the real reason for the season. Over the years, as the religious rite has grown, there has been much emphasis placed that we need to put, supposedly, the Christ back in Christmas. Or you've probably seen those big banners that say Jesus is the reason for the season. And indeed, there has been such a Christmas war that has been raging over the years that it's not politically correct anymore for some people to say happy holidays. That supposedly we all should be saying Merry Christmas to one another. And indeed, the Unitarian Universalists have engaged in these culture wars and Christmas wars as well over the years by refusing to succumb to this kind of thinking. And we have rejected even the notion of Christmas altogether by saying we refuse to celebrate this holiday along with everyone else. And yet, do you know the history around Christmas, other than those of you who attended the 9:15 service? Well, let me tell you a little bit about how Christmas has actually, in many ways, already been won. And who are the winners? The Unitarian Universalists, of course. If we lost, I wouldn't even bring this up, because I'm a sore loser. So, the Reverend Tracy Springberry, in an article called A Unitarian Christmas from Church of the Larger Fellowship, they have a publication called Quest, mentions that before the Unitarians grabbed a hold of Christmas, this pagan holiday was actually marked by drunken debauchery. There were a lot of amens at the 9:15 service to this. That the feast of Saturnalia was all about throwing a good party, making sure that you spiked the eggnogs, and that you had a good time going on. Yeah. Well, the Puritans, when they settled the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they were also our forebears, thought that, you know, there's got to be more to Christmas than that. But before they thought that there was more to Christmas than that, they actually banned Christmas altogether. So for 150 years, Christmas was not celebrated in Massachusetts at all. Until the 19th century, when there was an influx of a group of people from a country called Ireland. And we know that those Irish love their liquor, don't they? You know, where's the Guinness invented? Yeah, I heard an amen from Dennis. So, when they came in, they thought, well, let's bring back Christmas and let's make it a celebratory thing. And so the Unitarians went back to the old drawing board and said, okay, if we're going to celebrate Christmas anyway, how should we celebrate this holiday? And how could we bring back new meaning to the Christmas holiday? And so you know what they did? A poet by the name of Clement Moore picked up a pen or a quill or whatever it is they used back in those days and penned a book called A Visit from St. Nicholas. And so, lo and behold, you know how the Mormons kind of baptize people after the fact? We Unitarians kind of make people Unitarians after the fact, right? So even though St. Nicholas was really a Catholic bishop, we claimed him to be one of our own. So suddenly, instead of a very thin guy from who knows where in Europe somewhere, Turkey, there you go. I'm glad some of you know where St. Nicholas came from. So instead of this thin guy from Turkey, he became a jolly old fat fellow who lives in the North Pole. And I bet you anything, if Clement Moore were still alive today and he were to revise his famous poems, including not the Nightmare Before Christmas. Freudian slip. That was Tim Burton. 'Twas the night before Christmas and all through the house. I bet if he were to rewrite that, Santa would be black. And Fox News Channel wouldn't be talking about it, yeah? So anyway, I digress. So the whole notion of this big, fat, jolly guy wearing a red suit with a beard and with a bunch of reindeers and little elves running around, that was a Unitarian concept. And you want to know what the lesson or the moral of that story is that we need to practice generosity this time of year. And that we need to be so inclusive because Santa, after all, delivers gifts throughout the world. Notice Santa on his list doesn't necessarily check what one's sexual orientation is, what one's religious affiliation is, what one's gender is. It's a very inclusive Santa. The only criteria on this list is what? Who's been naughty and who's been nice. Yeah? And so it's the values that bring forth what Christmas was about for our early Unitarian forebears. And further down the road, there was another Harvard professor, because as many of you all know, Harvard became a Unitarian school. So there was a Harvard professor who invited all his friends to gather together at this Harvard home. And guess what? He featured so prominently in the living room. It was this German tradition of cutting down a pine tree and putting decorations around it, and even candles, because way back when they didn't have those flickering Christmas candles. And so they had candles and they had dolls, and there's even stories that the dolls caught fire because of the candles, right? So, as we know, it may not have been the safest thing, but it started this tradition of how can we be like those candles, bringing light to the world? And how can we be like those dolls, becoming beauty in a world that could sometimes be so dull and boring and dry? And so Christmas became a time and a celebration for the radiance of the light and for the beauty of the ornaments around it. Ready for one more Unitarian character that has brought us Christmas? All right. We'll go back to jolly old England. Ever heard of a guy named Charles Dickens who wrote this book or work called A Christmas Carol? Another Unitarian, I kid you not. And what was the point and the moral of A Christmas Carol? Is it not to exhibit charity and not be a Scrooge? That when there are people in need, that it is up to us to provide shelter for those who are homeless out in the cold winter snow? Is it not up to us to exhibit compassion, to boldly grow compassion, Charles might even say today, to those who are hungry and those children who are too poor to even have a toy? And to yo, this is what Christmas is all about for Charles Dickens. And as we've noticed over the years, this whole idea of generosity and gift giving has been perverted. And that would have been the point to the presentation that I worked so hard on last night, but couldn't get up here. Amy Grant's I Need a Silent Night. I've heard I made the same mistake before, too many malls, too many stores. December traffic, Christmas rush, it breaks me till I push and shove. The shopping and buying, the waiting forever in line, what can I say? I need a silent night, a holy night, to hear an angel's voice through the chaos and the noise. I need a midnight clear, a little peace right here to end this crazy day with a silent night. What a powerful message about what it truly means to engage in the season, to truly have peace on earth and goodwill to all. For me, it's such a radical, countercultural statement to the mall going, to the parking space hogging, to the shoving and pushing, the sale buying and Black Friday engagement, to all of that, to have a silent night. So you know what? I decided to take this up seriously, and I emailed my family this year. I told them, you know, we really have everything we need. We don't need any more junk in our respective homes. And so, instead of spending all that money on Christmas gifts, why can't our present just be our present? Our presents will be our present, right? Or our present will be our present. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So, I was surprised that they actually were quite pleased with that idea. And not just because they're a bunch of cheap parquets, but because they actually thought that, there's better ways that we can spend our money, and that would alleviate so much of the stress that we engage in year after year trying to find the perfect Christmas gift for somebody else. And so, 3 days from now, I'm counting on having the best Christmas ever. Not only that, but I actually found out that I don't have to go to my grandparents-in-law's place anymore for Christmas brunch. I hope you edit this out, by the way, Roland. That is so stressful. There's like 20 of them, and my introvertedness just comes out whenever I'm around them. So simplifying Christmas makes sure that I have a silent night and a holy night. What are some other ways that we could not engage in Christmas as our culture has engaged in it before? Because what I forgot to mention, the reason how we won the culture wars and the Christmas wars back then was because Unitarian Universalists controlled the media. How many of us are even on Facebook these days, yeah? How can we continue to be that trendsetter and set an example for everyone else? So let's take this whole idea that I brought up earlier about St. Nicholas. What if we were to use our inclusive theology and spread that throughout the world? In a season full of wars amongst the world's religions, can we model what we have just modeled here today? It's a mashup of neo-pagan tradition and Christian tradition, yeah? How many other churches and religious institutions can you go to that celebrates both pagan and Christian holidays all rolled into one? Can we be that bright example and that shining light to the rest of the community that needs to hear our inclusive message? Well, I tell you what, there are already other groups that are starting to do this. So we're not even on the forefront anymore. I was talking to my Buddhist colleague, for example, the other week actually, and he was saying that what his Sangha does is he gathers up together the choir and has them go out and sing Christmas carols out in the community. Can you imagine that? A Buddhist choir singing Christmas carols. And what I found out from my snorkeling buddy on Monday mornings is she's a Jewish person, but she sings at the Windward Chorale Society every Christmas. Well, actually, this is the second Christmas that she's done it. And I'm like, well, what are you doing as a Jew singing Christmas carols? Do you just lip sync it? Do you not mean it? And she says, I actually enjoy singing, and it makes me form community with others. Who cares if I don't necessarily agree with the words? And I said, oh, you must not be Unitarian Universalist. And I was attending just last night the Honolulu Gay Men's Chorus. And I look behind me, and who do I see but a rabbi and a Shinto priest? And during the intermission, all three of us gathered together and said, yeah, we all know we don't agree with the theology around Christmas, but we're here anyway because we want to support the Gay Men's Chorus, And we want to make sure that, we have a good time and we enjoy ourselves. So there are ways in which we could transcend even our religious traditions and backgrounds in order to get to the core of what the holidays truly mean. And what would it mean to be a present to somebody else? How can we be the gift that keeps on giving? So when we talk about Silent Night, I don't just mean Silent Night within ourselves and finding peace for our own spirits, although that's certainly a good place to start. But I also think about what it would mean to be that agent of peace to someone else during the holiday season. This is a tough time of year for a lot of people. And we probably at some point or another lost someone we love this time of year. And we're missing them whenever we're at family gatherings or whenever we're celebrating the holidays. And as Kaimi mentioned in the Book of Life, and as I've been reflecting on it the past few days, the Reverend Sky St. John's death hit me hard. And it hit me hard because when I first came to Hawaii back in 2005, and I didn't know a single person here, he befriended me. And he started attending the church and played the piano for us, so contributed of his gifts that way. And then he invited us to meet at Unity in Diamond Head. And he started tithing to that church, to our little church, to Ohana MCC. And it was using that money that we were able to afford the rent at Unity in Diamond Head. And so time after time, I've experienced him to be someone who just doesn't say no, even when I ask him to help us move. And I tell you, Sky is such a strong individual that there were a bunch of us moving and we were all taking our breaks, but yet Sky was here like the Energizer Bunny. He just kept going and moved boxes after boxes. It made the rest of us youngsters look really bad. And one of my greatest regrets when I moved back to Hawaii the second time around was that I didn't get more of a chance to spend with him, that I didn't give him with my presence, and vice versa. And so that's, I guess, part of the guilt that I'm going through as I'm going through my grieving process right now, is that I just wish that I had more time to spend with people I enjoy spending time with and with people I love. And so perhaps the same case is true for us. But it's not too late for those of us who are still living. I know it's probably too late for those of us who have gone on, but how can we, as a congregation, this holiday season, for example, exhibit love and support to the members of the Unity Church of Hawaii? Even though they're not the same religious tradition as us, how can we open up our hearts and say that we're here for you if you need a shoulder to cry on? That we understand that you're going through a lot of shock and grief right now at the loss of your spiritual leader, but how can we be here in community together? Wouldn't that be an excellent Christmas and holiday gift? So this season, I encourage us not to just take some moments of self-care and reflection and go deep within you to find out what a silent and a holy night would mean for you in the midst of the chaos and the hustle and the bustle. But I'd like to challenge you to take it one step further. How can you wrap yourself up in a holiday wrapping and put a bow around it? And it doesn't even matter what you're gonna say on that card. It doesn't matter if you say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Bodhi Day, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that you say on the card. The most important thing is not the card, not the wrapper, not the bow. It is you. You can be a gift to someone else this holiday season. So may we go forward and be that gift that our world so desperately needs right now. May we sing.